those specific artifacts that he owns that we can legitimately get carbon dated, tested as, you know, life form carbon datable artifacts, which, if you know, that can verify right there, 12,000 years, rewrite history, those artifacts are all legitimate. That would be one heck of a 2024 disclosure, and it's friggin' bananas. So that's enough of Mr. Banana for now. Enough of that, and let's move on to the next topic, and then we will get to a new top 10 list, which is the top 10 list of We at Bees, Weekend at Bernie's production series. You know, real science. That's number one. And we're going to get Mike and Gerald hopefully in here right now. I'm going to send them links as I play this clip. And we're going to get some real science going on with that Free Energy Fridays. You know, that's number two with the series that we do. Number three, Year of the Coil, aka Year of the Super Field that is now turned into. Boom, right there. And then Woo Woo Wednesday, you know, that's later today because it's Wednesday. Shout out Hans Dietrich, Julia Cameron, who clip we were just playing in. And, you know, that's another top of the list, Julia Cameron and Hans Dietrich, Woo Woo Wednesday that we do. All right, so I think that was number 6, and it's time for a break. Well, I gather my thoughts and get these gentlemen the link to join. So what the heck are we supposed to be playing here? My goodness. How many hours do I put into getting things organized, and you can never have it all lined up properly? All right. I guess since it's loaded, we're going to play another Julia Cameron, Woo Woo Wednesday partner sister, and Solar Marshall. It was our New Year's special 2023 and 2024 live stream, live clip top 10 list edit that I just published before we did this live stream right now, as I explained earlier in this live stream on the process of having to edit a video to be able to delete it, to make space to record this current live stream happening right now, and all of that. This is the first top 10 list live clip edit of the new top 10 list live clip edit series and branding that we're doing with We at Bees, Weekend at Bernie's interviews. All right. Solar Marshall, Julie Cameron, myself, review, Danny B. Burish, and his story that seems to be, if, you know, the original legitimate, potentially Bob Lazar experience and story. Let's take a listen to the top 10. Top 10. Oh, I guess it's the
It's all that glowing in the dark. Okay. Well, Dan Burish saw these crystals like glowing in the dark up in the mountains in Nevada when him and his wife, Marcia McDowell,
in 94, banging our heads on the wall on how to accomplish this. We tried everything from micro dissection of cells. Of course, we're talking about internal versus external cytoplasm. Well, I will. But we were trying very crude techniques to arrest the cell's development, and we finally got to the point where we said we needed to know more. Well, they weren't forthcoming, but ultimately, in 1993, we were informed. In late 1993, we were informed that, in fact, we were dealing with an extraterrestrial, and that the extraterrestrial was housed inside of the same facility, about a half level down at the end of where we were standing. rings, their orientation, the energy running through them, position of the barrel, etc. Because you can raise the barrel up on an armature inside the center of it. All come into play as if you have an onion with the various layers of the onion. As you move through the different energy levels, you also move through the different layers, so you get different bits of information. Now, imagine an almost infinite number of layers overlain in comparison to the positions of the rings, and an almost infinite amount of energy that you can add or subtract, tuning it up, tuning it down.
Well, it sounds
instead of going up by 1 hertz or by 2 hertz, maybe by a thousandth of a hertz up and down. The technology is not being used at all right now.
Okay, but the reason it's not used now is because of where we're going into the galactic, the plane of the.
As of about 2017, I would expect probably that all of these little pieces of equipment will probably all get reassembled. Yeah.
Turned back on.
Oh, sure.
2017. That's quite a while.
2016, 2017.
Oh, not until then.
Probably not. The so-called cycle of catastrophe or season of catastrophe of Falconelli, the time period from right around 1992 to right around 2012, right around that area. While we will have passed 2012, we really ought to get through the entire cycle, which is about 1980 to about 2016, to feel confident that the interpretation from the timeline from the future about their own catastrophe is not off by a few years. We're talking about 45,000 years or 52,000 years respectively. We have difficulty understanding what happened 2,000 years ago. And we're talking about 50,000 years here. So it's very wise for them to wait.
The looking glasses are now decommissioned, but also the Stargate technology.
Yeah, they're decommissioned, and the Stargates and the looking glasses, I'm sure they're all in their little mothballed containers and all of that. And they have been separated. The 3 components of each have been separated and moved to different power structures, diplomatic and military authorities on the world.
51. The one jump room, there were several of them. A lot of them were located in colleges. Have you ever heard of the, oh man, what is his name? It's
Andrew Basiago?
Yes. The attorney. He's the main jump room guy. What do you think of him?
Dude, he's one of the him and Osmanagich were supposed to be speaking at this conference, and so I was like, oh my god. So when it was like, hey, do you want to speak there? I was like, absolutely. I was geeking out because I wanted to meet Osmanagich and Basiago, because what everything Basiago said, it really, hit. They say when people speak truth, you hear it in the voice. Like, it's not even necessary. Right. Sometimes what they're saying, like
he's lying to me either.
Certain voice, like literally, the DNA hears the sound, and the sound resonates. Like it literally hit. Like you resonate with it on a DNA level. Yeah. And so, and when Basiago spoke and Osmani, like it hit hard. So I was like, I gotta. I want to hear more, but and that's the thing. And I've talked about this before on Bernie's show and stuff, where all these different people, it's getting harder and harder to find it. But these testimonials of these people that are like, look, their parents was part of a project, and they have to, it seems to though, because I'm seeing this pattern where there's someone in a project, a military project, and in order to access these jump rooms or these portals or these wormholes, they have to hold the hand of a child. And the
jump rooms, aka portals and jump rooms. My goodness, that is something else, and that is not that wild of a discussion happening since Danny Burish, obviously. And the more you look into it, way before him even, this technology has been suppressed. It is demigod, it is godly, who knows, alien, all of the above, and it is in our hands for a long time, or the military hands, or human hands of some sorts, and it's in all of the holy books and the stories of the ancients, and also apparently aliens named J-Rod. Mike, Gerald, I finally sent the link there. Anthony also sent the link to you. Good Williams, sir. We will continue on while we wait.
Going to groove, and I was like, what? And I couldn't believe what he was saying. And then he gets on this helicopter and he's still talking in the phone. But then when that thing starts winding up, okay, it was way too loud. I couldn't hear anything. And then eventually we got cut off.
Wow.
Yeah. Eventually we got cut off.
What was your conclusion of like speaking to him? I know we'll dive way deeper into this, but your assessment of speaking to him, what he had to say, what you revive. I'm talking about picking up on like what you perceive.
Was he being truthful? Is that what you're saying? Yes. And I don't even hesitate to say it, because the thing is,
Hello. Welcome, Gerald and Mike. Good morning. It is the crew of Free Energy Fridays and Real Science. Faraday Mike and WPG Enlightened for Truth.
Morning.
Starting a woo-woo Wednesday off. How are you, my friends?
Trying to make the day productive.
Alive, but not awake.
Yeah, I'm on temporary layoff again, so yeah, I got time.
Me as well. To be honest, it happens too often, but here we find ourselves and agreed that let's be productive and make the best. Gold, purple gold, water. You still doing your structured water, Mike? And Gerald, have you been doing any experiments with structuring water and your coils? As Mike first. Sorry about that.
Structuring water at this moment? No, I'm working on something else. I want to structure the water in your body while you're standing there. I don't want to structure water to put in your body. I want to structure all the water in your body. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Good idea.
I'm basically working on a chamber that you stand in. So, some interesting stuff. Rather than the med bed, it's like a med chamber, if you will. But again, I have a lot of work to do.
Field chamber, if you would, per se.
Yeah, you can put it that way. Because there's light involved, there's sound, there's electromagnetics. In fact, there's plasma involved, which is an interesting... Wait until you see how all this comes together. It's freaking awesome.
I love the sounds of it already.
Yeah, I've been working on this for about 15 years. So I'm getting to the accumulation now where I can complete it. What's up, Mike?
Mr. Wilhelm Reich here.
Well, I don't know about that, but I definitely am using a lot of his data.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm using Raymond Reif's data. And then you go to John Bedini when he was working with, I can't remember the name. I think it's called an RX box. I could be wrong on that.
The RPX.
RPX. Yeah, it was about producing those sideband frequencies in order to heal the human body. And then him and his brother are, of course, passed now. So how do we know? Don't know. But it's something I'm working on. It's interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people have dabbled with it. A lot of people don't
realize. I love all of those names and their work that you're working on.
Another guy that everybody should really look into, and I'm actually reading some more stuff on Nathan Stubblefield. Like, this guy was so far ahead of his time that people just didn't know what to make of what he was doing and didn't take him seriously. He was the real first guy who created radio as we know it today. He was before Tesla, before Marconi and all these guys. This guy was the godfather of the wireless telephone.
He definitely understood coils. Have you seen his Stubblefield coil?
Yeah,
it's almost like a pyramid form. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, So these founders, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of these founders
Really?
are so far. These guys were so far ahead of their time. Like even now, we're just starting to understand what these guys were onto, and we're still not there yet. These guys were that far ahead, right?
See,
It's just
I have
you know,
a theory about that, though. I don't think they were so far ahead through experimentation. I think that there was a couple of them that had access to a library where this stuff was already working from the history, but locked away from people. And they were able to access it, and by each one of them seeing bits and pieces, then the experimentation. You know what I mean? So as they progressed, they were already standing on the shoulders of 1,000 men, but they didn't tell us, making them sort of like celebrities, so to speak, right? So
maybe where that hidden technology, were they able to stumble on this information? That's the question.
I believe they did. I fully believe that. There are libraries even in my city that if you had the right access, you could learn things from our history that you wouldn't even imagine. Bernie knows what I'm talking about. Those libraries they're not hidden. You can access them, but you have to have access. And there's so many different ways.
Well said.
Well, knowing that they actually exist and know where to go. Yeah.
And I fully believe that all that information is there. Nikola Tesla, he was a genius, but at the same time, did he just come upon all that stuff right away? If you look into who he was and who he hung out with, he had access to things Freemasons could have had access to, or other groups.
See, a lot of people don't know Nikola Tesla was at the Stubblefield farm, and that's where he came up with the idea for the radiant energy collector. So
he knew Einstein. He knew all those guys.
Yeah, Steinmetz, Einstein, all those guys he knew. And Stubblefield, he was at his farm. There's pictures of Tesla standing there at his farm. So even Einstein was there. Even Einstein was there.
Stubblefield was known to be an initiate. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Exactly.
So
like the apex presentation of the Twister being the 3rd degree initiation of Twister and Vortex mathematics and geometries. And it's like, what?
Well, their whole basic symbology, it basically tells you about Vortex energy, but half of them don't even know what it means. And the other half that do aren't going to tell you. So it's very interesting.
Yeah,
that's why they
use it to cast spells upon you instead.
Well, that's why academia did its best to get the Vortex technology out of academia, to get it locked away, right?
Yep.
So
absolutely, and that Vortex technology directly accesses the human body because of the way that our cells work. So
it accesses everything.
If you go back in history and you look at the kings list and how some of those kings supposedly lived 20,000 years, and your brain goes like, really? That's impossible. The human body would degrade. But now picture this. This is just a thought. Okay, so as a thought experiment, if your cells are breaking down slowly, and that's what creates age, if you could regenerate those cells daily, like say sitting in a box for 15 minutes a day, or you sit and have coffee and you're sitting in a certain room for 15 minutes to a half hour a day, and your cells become re-energized to the point where they're not degrading for that day, you would pause or extend your life, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's what Wilhelm Reich was really after, kind of, the fountain of youth, right? So
yeah,
a lot
I
of
believe
his
so
work
too.
is based on that.
Don't get me wrong, I don't want to extend life. I'm not going to say I can't wait to die, but at the same time, I know what happens after, and that's just as interesting as this tech.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a thought experiment, right? But if it was possible, it would allow your your superhuman healing ability that we are actually given to be accessed, and it would almost be a daily thing. Now, don't get me wrong, you could still get into a car accident, break your arm, die from the accident itself. But as an everyday aging process, it could be paused if it's true.
Or, I believe that totally 100%. You know, it's like, you know, you walk outside and you get hit by a bus. Well, nobody can really control what happens to you in the third dimensional reality, but your life force still exists even after you've died physically in the third dimension. You're just transferring over.
Absolutely. Yeah. I could tell you a story about life after death. I've been there, so to speak.
Well, a lot of people have had those experiences. So
yeah, a lot of people have. You're the total sum of your experience and your life and everything you went through when you die, right? So when I came back from death, so to speak, it was like when I came back into my body, it was like going through layers. There was one layer was pain, one was fear, one was hate, one was anger, and then I was in my body. But all those feelings don't exist on the other side. What's that, Bernie?
I forget the guy's name. The 7 layers of hell or whatever it was, like coming back through the different.
Dante's.
Dante's Inferno. There we go. That's what it is.
I never knew the details on that. I should go back and read that, because I'm just speaking from experience. I wrote it down when I was 16, and I've had it ever since. So
that's amazing, right? A sync worth checking out. Relate it to your own experience and just the parallels and.
So on a different topic, when it comes to tech, have you guys seen Joel Agassi's recent video?
Yeah,
on his solid state generator? That circuit.
I have not, but I would like to. Can you post the link or play it?
I definitely will dig it up here. It's interesting. He uses this. How do I put it? He uses 3 batteries in order to charge. I got to show you the circuit.
It's a Tesla switch.
Yeah, it's a Tesla switch in real time, so to speak. It doesn't use relays, though.
No.
Let's see here. I'll dig it up for you. Sorry, it's taking me a bit. I'm looking through my history. I should probably just type it in.
Oh, good, my friend. I feel you on that. It takes a minute sometimes.
Okay.
7 layers of hell and 7 layers of hell. And that is correct, Jim Dillinger. Thank you. And Dante's.
So where do you want this link here? I guess drop it
in the private chat, then I'll be able to click on it and open it up.
There you go. It's interesting because I use part of this circuit already, and he adds like a 3rd battery to it, which I haven't tested yet. But it's an interesting circuit. So big shout out to Joel Agassi. Awesome work, dude. If you're listening, and you should be. Yeah, it makes you wonder if you could interface a high voltage
figure out what the
step up generator through the way that he's got this
full on without using too much voltage. And
you have to go a little further. It's
not enough at the same time.
"16 minutes in, he brings in that 3rd battery, or 15 minutes in. Depends how much you want to get into this.
Figure out, you get 0 here. So
Yeah,
that's
go back
why
a little bit
you
to
don't
that
get an
explanation of
actual.
those three.
It's actually partially isolated over here, even though it's part of the.
Sorry, Gerald, I should let you give a pretext to not make you fight with the video. What were you saying, good sir?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to fight with the video. Maybe go back, say 30 seconds, where he's explaining that little diagram that he's got his pen on right now. He gives a pretty decent explanation about it. Yeah, right about there.
We're going to add internal resistance a little bit anyways. So you're actually going to be counterproductive versus just running two batteries. And the reason that works here, plus to plus here, minus to minus. So here we have our minus plus, we have our light here. But the difference is the light is going to see the potential of this one here and this one here. So it's going to be 9 plus 9, which is 18 volts. So it's going to see 18 volts. And because they're all assuming brand new at the same voltages, the plus and plus here and negative, they're the same potential. So they cancel each other out. You get 0 here. So that's why you don't get an actual, it's actually partially isolated over here, even though it's part of the circuit, because it doesn't contribute the current in the traditional sense to the system. So now you're probably going, aha, I think I see where he's going with this. So back to our system over here. Let's add a third battery right here. This is 9 volts cell right here. But what we're going to do is we're going to go plus here, minus here, and we're going to connect it to this system right here. So we're going to go plus is going to connect with the plus here, and the negative is going to go ahead and connect with the negative here. So essentially, you know, as far as every system is concerned, this one here is running this one here is running this here. But now that we have this system, we want to take advantage of it, right? So we're going to change a little bit the way the circuit goes now.
He makes
So
a
what
mistake
we're going
right
to
there.
do is we're going to run it off the 3 batteries is actually going to be what gets pulsed. So our plus here is going to be this one here, like I actually had it. I don't know why I did that, but okay. And then the negative, instead of being this one here that it's pulsing, we're going to disconnect this negative here, and we're going to go right to the negative here. So you see now, this battery only is running this at 40 mA. We're really breaking the symmetry, folks. Tom Bearden would really be proud. This one here is running, well, it's not running anything directly, actually. It's just part of the 3 batteries series configuration. But the high voltage module is now connected to this one and this one. It sees the 2 battery, it ignores this one. It sees 0 here. But again, we're not dumping the load here. We still have the 90 volt discharge. So what are we going to do? We're going to put our plus here. It's going to charge the battery right here. The negative is going to dump, into the second battery. I can do better than that. I want to confuse people here.
Saskatchewan is home to some of the highest quality and most sustainably produced.
Bernie.
Good old Saskatchewan. Hey, boys, we got just a few Canadian farmers with us today to start this out. What was that?
Oh, yeah, eh? Take off, eh? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, what he was saying there, I've built the circuit, and I'm using 3 12-volt batteries. They're all 100 amperes. And I have a step-down transformer that comes from the 150 kV high voltage module and then it goes to a step down and then to the battery. I haven't tested it. I built it yesterday. I finished like 9 o'clock last night. So I'm going to test it. And if it works, I want to show it off on Friday.
Heck yes.
Sounds
That's
good.
the perfect Free Energy Friday project. And
Well,
what you
if
got
it works, do you realize what that does? What that does is actually it's a miniature version of what you're using in your house, because
Oh.
you're sending 150,000, 200,000 kV down your lines. Now you're sending a lot more current, don't get me wrong, but the way that they split it with your pole pig in your house,
Yeah.
I can explain it once I've tested it to make sure that it's correct.
Well, yeah, they got 40,000, actually 46,000 going on the poles, and then when it hits the transformer on the pole, it steps it down.
You're
It's a
talking
giant
about the
step
ultimate
down.
life hack, aren't you guys?
What's that?
Talking about the ultimate energy life hack, aren't you?
Something like that.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a huge step down. The reason why they use 40,000 volts going through the power lines is because you can get huge distance. Okay, so with
Yeah,
that
with
40,000, well, a lot less current. You do almost need very next to no current, because when you got 40,000 volts going through a step down transformer, when you go from a large wind or a very high turn winding, and you step it down to a large thick wire with fewer turns, it steps down the voltage, but the amperage increases exponentially. So
Absolutely.
technically, through the actual power line itself needs very, very little current. That's why the wires are so thin. Now, if that weren't the case, the wires would have to be so thick, it would be, not practical to actually do it. And that was the problem that Edison had transmitting DC power. His cables had to be so thick, but he could only get 1 mile distance of transmission, right? That's where that's where AC won the war, right? Is because you need a lot less wire to do it, and you can transmit, basically infinitely with a alternating current. That's why Tesla won. So keeping that in mind, with this experiment, he's taking a high voltage potential, he's stepping it down and increasing the amperage. So whenever you step down, you lose voltage, but you gain on the amperage, and then vice versa.
And because of the way he's got this circuit, it distributes the power to all 3 batteries through that one. It's crazy. I love it. If it works, and I believe it does, everything Joe Legacy's brought out so far,
giving you a 3-for-1.
What's that?
If it works, it's potentially giving you a 3-for-1 free-for-1.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're tripling your outputs.
Yep.
All right, let's listen to the rest of this. 3-for-1, free-for-1, Free Energy Friday. We're gonna
everything Joe Legacy has brought out, I've tested, and so far he's been dead on. And I think that's why he gets attacked so much, because he's been right so far.
Yep.
Guy's great. Got to have him on, Bernie.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him
The
on.
minus is charging the second battery. So the high voltage at 90 volts is charging this battery here. So this totally breaks how it would work in traditional electrodynamics, because you see what's going to happen now is, as this battery here starts increasing voltage, it may read 9.1 volts, while this one here or that one here, let's say the first one drops a little bit. Whichever one is lower, which is really cool because this is automatic sensing, regauging without any auto compensator circuits. It's just doing it with nature, basically. So what I'm getting at is, now instead of seeing 0 here, it's going to see the plus whatever 100 millivolts, and it's going to start distributing that into this battery or that battery. So it's fully isolated, but it's not, you see? So now these two batteries are going to be able to charge. See what I'm getting at? It solves the isolation issues of sending it back without having to worry about transformers. Let's say this was a Bedini. This would work as well with the Bedini setup, which is really interesting. Now, if you want to take it one step further, this is a little bit more complicated because it's a high voltage module, but let's say this is actually a Bedini. We'll call this Bedini instead. Bedini. So we're using a traditional Bedini here. What's interesting with the Bedini is the way the wheel works and the magnetic pulse. It's not an auto self-triggered system. It needs that pulse to start it. So you actually get a pause in the input current. So what I'm getting at is the Bedini motor also switches your CEMF. So all you have to do is on the plus side here that's feeding the Bedini, you had an additional transformer stage here with L1, and here would be L2.
Tunnel thing on traffic. He also tweets a lot. Elon Musk right here.
Commercials.
And I've shown this in another video.
I think we're good on
And
that
you're
one.
also,
though,
and if you want to get really creative, use resonance, tune to your frequency, even add a reactive stage if you want to put a capacitor in there as well. C1, so now you've got an LC circuit that's also increasing the potential from the CEMF trigger. So you're really, really taking every system here and recycling it. And then the output of this can be then rectified with the help of the diodes back to DC, which can then charge. I'm running out of space here. The first battery. So now we have a system very similar that Bedini's later motor with the hub edition, the hub motor he called it. Every battery is getting hit with an incredible amount of power and using hardly anything. We've created a very non-linear system. We're doing asymmetrical regauging and we're breaking the symmetry like Tom Bearden's doing. And we're doing it by using very little input trigger just by this is very ugly. I know if you wouldn't follow me by now, you wouldn't know what all this means. But my point is, you've got 3 batteries and you've got a system inputting high voltage in all 3 now. So we're recovering the CEMF, we're recovering the back EMF, we're using reactance in some cases on both sides to increase those potentials some more. And I haven't even put in the one-wire system yet as an additional system. So we're really using the environment to provide the additional energy flows and using a little bit of traditional electrodynamics, but with a twist. So again, I just wanted to put the information out there. And essentially, I have the little Bedini fan motor, which basically really sucks. I hate to say it, but it shows the demonstrations, but it doesn't beat the back wheel and the multiple coil system. But if you have any kind of half-decent Bedini system, I really don't see why this system here wouldn't be able to self-loop. And, you know, you'd have to end up using the load eventually on an inverter because it's very much like the Bedini condition with his last Ferris wheel system where we're essentially not letting any of the 3 batteries go below 9 volts. And we're also using reactive in the system. So we're there's a lot going on here, folks. And it could only work, you know? And of course, those who want to experiment more with the Bedini have talked about additional systems. Instead of running a fan blade, drive electrostatic discs and use the 150,000 volts for another system with displacement current against inert ground. And those we've experimented 90 volts, 100 volts, and a couple millisecond capacitive discharges at 22 UF or more. You're going to get a lot. If you, the trick, folks, is to integrate several systems together. You want to recover the back EMF, the CEMF. You want to introduce as much reactance as you can in the system to increase the potentials at only the cost of the internal resistance. Again, it's not a free lunch, but we could work on efficiency. And with that said, what's a bonus of the reactive stage is what I've talked about. Batteries that were doing any kind of output work don't like to charge at the same time. So by deliberately messing with the phase, we're able to space out the input and the output pulse. And the reactance being 180 degrees out of phase, again, we're just using natural systems here to help us without making it too complicated. Just let nature do it for you. And this battery configuration, if the second one here has any higher voltage than any of the two, it'll pick it and start dumping its voltage and current in that battery without affecting with the rest of the circuit. This is exactly what we want to do. So that's what I meant when I was showing you the diagram earlier. You know, don't poo-poo all over it. I'm going somewhere with this. And this is what I wanted to show you. No isolation issues. But, you know, a lot to swallow here, I understand. And with that said, folks, always looking forward to your comments and suggestions and ideas. Let's collaborate and talk about what needs to be said and what we can do to improve our systems. At some point, I would like to show this system, but I have yet to reproduce the real Bedini. Even the bike wheel one would probably have a good chance with this. So have yourselves all a great day, folks.
Whoa, buddy. Try the A&W Spicy Dill Pickle Buddy Burger for just $3.99.
Bernie's banana is slacking.
Bernie's bananas.
Hey everyone, this is going to be a pretty different video from what I normally post.
Hey,
If you're
Bernie,
from the
you
Flat
there?
Earth realm, you know what this is about. If you're one of my regular viewers, I'll fill you in as quickly as possible. Last week, I posted a video about how we know the Earth
left his
isn't
banana
flat. This was
behind
really
him.
just to reinforce and contextualize
Stop
some lessons
cutting it.
from earlier in my astronomy playlist. I figured I'd get a few trolls, nothing major, but instead the entirety of the Flat Earth community descended upon it with a vengeance. The YouTube channel
Exotic
Busters
propulsion in the
informed me
house.
that they were going to be deconstructing my video in their weekly live stream, and they invited me to check it out. I didn't really know what to expect. I thought there'd be some degree of dialogue or exchange. There definitely wasn't. Everything they were saying I was discrediting in real time, and they were acknowledging none of it. On top of that, they were extremely rude to me, so I had to respond simply as a point of honor, and that's this. So let's begin. I'll start with the only valid criticism you had of me, and that is that I misrepresented your model.
Oh, there it is.
Bernie's back from the banana trip.
About that, gentlemen.
Love that stuffed animal, Bernie. That rocks.
Bernie's new mascot.
Because
the
world is going freaking bananas, man.
You got a Rastafarian banana, man.
It's going freaking bananas, and it is a winter vortex outside. Let me tell you.
Yeah, we're supposed to get hit tomorrow night.
Oh my God. It's not fun, let me tell you. It's true Canada out there.
Yeah, winter's here for sure. We're getting minus 23s now.
Oh,
it's not that cold here. It's about -8.
You guys lucky, man. It was minus 24 in my truck without wind chill the other day. And I got pictures to prove it, eh? And I believe it's supposed to be down to minus 30 later this week.
Well, we got lucky tonight. It's only minus 10, but yeah, this week's supposed to get real cold and stay cold.
You guys can keep it.
It's coming your way, Mike.
Supposedly, it's supposed to go all the way down to Texas again. And that's crazy, this freezing, the super cold. And at a time where literally So it's this polar vortex. They claim the splitting of the North Pole, where the North Pole heated up 60 degrees overnight. Like, and it's overnight the night is a month long there. There's no sunlight, no energy whatsoever. How does it just shoot up 60 degrees temperature and then disturb and shoot all of this cold temperature down here? And when the cold was first moving in the other night, I got a bunch of pictures of these light spires, like it's sucking the energy out. It's crazy.
That is crazy. You gotta love the way it works, though. I mean, it makes you wonder if so many thousands of years ago, Antarctica, when it was warm, that cold was pushed down to, say, maybe where the equator is now. I don't know. But interesting stuff by far. Makes one wonder if that's kind of reoccurring, like a cyclic sort of formation. Don't know. Just a thought.
Welcome, Jeremiah. Sorry, don't know how long you've been there, brother. Josiah, good day.
There.
Yeah, sorry about that. I hadn't added myself back in because I was stepped away for a minute. But how you guys doing today? I just found out that you were doing a live stream. Looked at my messages, and I got one like 30 minutes ago. So here I am.
Welcome to Year of the Superfield. How does it feel?
Well, speaking of fields, I am printing right now the Corona ejection ring for the Photon spacecraft patent application. And this is going to be a rather interesting one. I've always wanted to build this, and it's specifically in the shape and geometry of the electrode, or the electron emission electrode. And that's what will produce the bremsstrahlung radiation around the craft. But I've got the first, I got the bottom half printed now, and I'm working on the top half. Once again, Simon did a fantastic job with the 3D CAD files, did the G-code and the slicing for me. So I'm just having some issues with this current print. Maybe it's a temperature setting issue, but you know, I'm new to 3D printing anyways, very new to it. But I am looking forward to building UFO parts with it.
Oh, the possibilities with 3D printers. And we're going to launch Metamaterial Mondays in 3D printing. Simon C. Going to be on with that as well. And we're going to start doing some real things with them 3D printers.
Yeah, I agree. I have to catch up on that. 3D printing's an amazing tech.
Yeah, I've been using it for a while.
Yeah, Mike, you're actually a wizard in it, I do believe.
I started actually making the machines back in about 2013 when it was just the rip wraps. And yeah, I built 2 or 3 of them from scratch, did all the coding and did everything. Yeah.
Nice. We should collaborate. I should get you to make me one. Something large.
Well, the thing is, the 3D printers are way better than what they used to be, and you could get a decent printer now for like $500. So,
yeah, you're absolutely right on that.
You know, the technology's just improved immensely on it, and now the materials is where it's at. You know, the type of materials you can actually print with. You can print carbon, you can print metals, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's going to take more time. I would say another 10 years before you start seeing some pretty amazing stuff. But you know, it's with this AI stuff coming online. Oh yeah, it's going to really change things.
Yeah, but all AI is programmable algorithms that have the ability to access the world's data all at once. If you could access the world's data all at once, you'd have a better computer in your head than that thing. That's just
they just recently released in one of the science tech magazines. They built the first semiconductor for a computer, all made of graphene. So this will revolutionize the.
I saw that. I saw that article.
Yeah. So
don't get me wrong, we're doing leaps and bounds with AI. I'm one of those old school guys that has the opinion that just because you can do something, does that mean you should? AI is not something that once you let out of the bottle, you'll ever be able to put back in. And humanity will never be the same.
Well, look what happened with the internet. Same thing. nobody realized in 1995 that it would be, pretty much running the world
Just
now.
don't abuse the AI. Use it for the best possible intentions, and it will be good.
Regardless of whether, but regardless of whether or not you use it with the best possible intentions, most of these companies that own the platforms that all of us use are going to put AI in charge of that. So now look at what the internet did for humanity in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
If you put a machine that's already been programmed with algorithms in charge of that, there's no human.
Oppressive machine. That's the issue that you're making. The point that you're pointing out is, sadly, it's a tyrannical, corporate, oppressive machine, not one of
There's
truth.
got to be rules, Bernie. You got to follow the rules, Bernie.
Who's controlling who, right? No, who's controlling who?
Yeah, well, that's just the point. Would you want a machine controlling you? No, don't get me wrong. Our computers, to some degree, give us limits, but we're the ones that put the controls on them. Do you really want to give up your sovereign consciousness to a machine that was put in place by some guy who didn't want to deal with it because he was too lazy mentally? I don't know. Just a question.
Yeah. We're going to go through those hurdles, the same thing we did with the internet, right? So same thing's going to happen with the AI stuff.
Yeah, I think AI is just going to be an excuse to get lazy, an excuse to say it wasn't my fault. I was just following orders. Did that really work in World War II? I mean, come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my opinion of it is it could be a good thing, but it's not being used as a good thing. I'd put AI in charge of medical operations that need absolute precision, right? Why not have them in charge of that? If they're perfectionists to that degree, then there's no human mistakes that can be made. That I agree with. But putting them in charge of human consciousness, which is essentially the internet to some degree, not entirely, but it's a collective consciousness amongst every person that has ever used it or contributed to it. I don't know. I think that's it's irresponsible for people to do. That's just my thought. I could be wrong, but if I'm proven wrong, so be it.
Yeah, it's uncharted territories, right?
I don't know. If you look into the Indian texts, like the Vedic texts, it parts of it kind of lead you to think that there was some sort of an AI influence way back in the day. But I could be wrong about that.
I suspect you're right on that. I feel the same thing. I do feel like I almost suspect that there's going to be this ancient AI like demigod like reconnection or something. Like it's like the Tower of Babel moment.
Yeah.
It either wins or destruct.
Yeah, I kind of wonder about that. Just because there was tech back then. No.
Is a cubit actually an ancient Egyptian Sumerian cubit? Is that actually a measurement of quantum bits? Like, imagine if that's actually it and it's part of the God particle.
That's a good question, Bernie. I always wondered about the qubit. That's a good question. Any thoughts on that, Mike?
Not really.
That one's out there.
That's an interesting
the Woo Woo Wednesday thought of the day right there.
There you go.
Still trying to absorb this.
Yeah, the qubit being an ancient measuring a measurement. What is it, 1.6 meters or something like that? 1.613 or something? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Supposedly, but maybe it's the God particle quantum bit of
maybe it was AI
and the quantum God AI technology of the universe that we are about to dabble with into the modern Babel of Tower of Babel.
Maybe it was here's a theory. How about AI being responsible for the construction of the pyramids. Maybe there was an AI back then that was able to make them build the structure at an incredible accuracy. So obviously there is some kind of AI involved that gave them this super incredible accuracy of construction.
I maybe, but you know what? I wouldn't give AI that much credit. I think it's as dumb as a rock, just like every other machine we've created. It's mankind that has amazing abilities and creativity. And I think that we came up with the ways of putting the pyramid together and what it was for. Maybe it was given to us by a higher power, maybe not. I don't know. But mankind was definitely the ones that put it together. How? That we still haven't figured out. We debate on it endlessly. All of us do. There's so many different ways, like Bernie said, maybe 3D printing it. Maybe it was built in anti-gravity in a sense where it was built from the top down. Maybe it was built by aliens. Maybe it was built by slaves. Nobody really knows.
No,
But
because
it's an interesting debate.
I personally think, and a few other guys out there actually think the Egyptians actually inherited the pyramids.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think they were way
1000%. The pyramids and the pyramid building super civilization was pre-cataclysm, pre-Younger Dryas, like Atlantean or before that.
Yeah, and this may piss a lot of people off, but I don't think the Egyptians owned it at all. If they did, they'd know exactly how it works, how it got put together, and how to fix it. And until they can tell me that, it wasn't theirs. They just got there first.
It was deliberately destroyed.
It'll just piss off the official Egyptian historical authorities, and they have their own history to maintain, even though it's been thoroughly disproven at this point.
And that's the thing about me. I don't care who I piss off.
Official Egyptian archaeology has been debunked so badly, it's like pathetic that in 2024 it's still taught in academia.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, no mention of Kemet at all. Hey, if we wanted to talk ancient Egypt, we should be referring to it by its proper name, and that goes back before the 4,000-year history that they're currently promoting.
Yep.
As an alchemist, my main email of Crypto Alchemist, I spell it ELKHEMIST because it's all about its tree.
There you go.
We as a society can move mountains now. And the Egyptians state that there's nothing beneath the sand except for the pyramids. Why don't we move most of that sand just to have a look? I doubt anybody would allow it. There'd be wars over that because the truth would come out.
Oh, you should have seen the major rigmarole for the completely non-invasive muon test. Where they found there was another chamber above the entryway. So just trying to get authorization from the authorities to get a couple of detectors in there. Like I said, completely passive detectors. Unreal amount of hoops they have to jump through. And then, of course, the authorities also said they had to be the first to gain access to the data, and they'd approve whether it was released and all this kinds of stuff. Like, why would you care if it's scientific information about the construction of this structure? Why should we have to go through you to release it? In fact, why should we even have to ask for
narrative control? As always, they gotta put their spin on it.
Yeah, I mean, if we were wondering whether or not they were controlling the history and the narrative, then that pretty much tells you flat out in your face right there.
Oh, absolutely. What was the name of that? I can't remember the guy who's in charge of Egyptian antiquity there.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember
the biggest Hawass shit in the fucking world.
Yeah, he was a thief, a liar, a manipulator. And yeah, you want to sue me? Go right ahead. I ain't got nothing for you to take. So the way that I see it is that guy was personally responsible for hiding so much Egyptian
world history. Like, it's crimes against humanity that freaking guy commits to this
I
day,
agree. He should be charged for crimes against humanity. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, they're always seeming to hide something. I think personally, in my personal view, there was a great civilization pre-Egyptian era, and it got wiped out completely. And they were the only ones who had the technology to build a structure like that. So the Egyptians eventually inherited it and called it their own, and that's been the narrative ever since. So that's my view. I think
And
there's
I
a
agree.
great civilization way before the Egyptians.
Because if it was truly yours, wouldn't you want to have it put back to its perfection so that you could be proud of it and show the world, yeah, this is ours? There's something just not quite right there.
Exactly, because they don't know what it is for starters, and number two, they wouldn't have any knowledge on how to reconstruct it, how to put it back to its original.
Well, I don't know. There's something sacred, I guess, about leaving the site as it is. I mean, Rome didn't rebuild the Colosseum. Greece is not rebuilding some of its
yes and
old
no.
temples,
If it's
so.
to some
Well,
degree,
if they-
especially with burials, but we believe those specific pyramids are not burials, and there's no bodies in them to this day, so you can't really desecrate them.
It's an energy
So I
generator.
argue it's because they belong to the world, and it needs to be more like shout out to Samir Izvanovic and what he's doing with the Bosnian pyramids and opening up and making it a civilian-led, open to the world. Any civilian can go and do active, real archaeological digs and explorations and real science on it as well. And the amount of next level information and discoveries that has come out of that, well, we'll be doing more of that this year.
I agree with both of you. I recant what I said originally. Maybe it shouldn't be put back into working order, but it should be cleaned up and maybe turned into a museum so that we know exactly what it was for, what its purpose was, its intention, and who built it and how it was built.
Yeah, hell, they could at least build a small one. I mean, at least to prove some principles, build a small working model.
Screw that! I want the portal to open.
And you could do that if it was all cleaned up and promoted, but they'll never do it because there's things that are being hidden from civilization that they do not want out. Otherwise, why not show it off?
Yep, they don't want people to know that this thing potentially was a giant generator set on a major ley line intersect that would create the global wireless power system that Tesla was at. And Tesla was very interested in the pyramids. And in his later years, in his mid to late 70s, he was doing a lot of experiments with quartz crystals and materials that were potentially used in the pyramids. So he had a huge interest in that.
Yeah, it was one of his passions.
Yeah. In his later years, he was doing a lot of experiments.
I don't think a lot of people realize how much Tesla actually traveled around the world and studied overseas. That guy moved all over the place just to learn from different cultures about their ancient sciences. He was fascinated with ancient technologies.
Yeah, he studied the Indian Vedic texts as well.
From what I understand, Tesla was at the pyramids twice.
Yeah, he wasn't at like a Hitler Nazi drill level of like I have to have all the old artifacts kind of thinking, but he wanted to understand how it all worked.
No, he even had like a yogi or some sort of Eastern or Orient master, like spiritual guy with him for many years. Oh God,
Edgar Casey, I think it was.
No,
he was from India.
An Indian yogi or something, right?
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
But yes, he also did Edgar Casey as well, and Walter Russell.
Yeah, he would ask Casey for all kinds of technical information for him to channel solutions for his various inventions that were at the edge. Because Tesla was doing stuff that had never been done before. So wherever Casey was pointing his information, that Tesla would ask him about in his hotel room when he was, in his final years of doing his design work, and he sort of hit the edge. The stuff hadn't been done before, at least in any modern time. So wherever Casey was pulling that tech from, it certainly wasn't because he had looked it up and read it on the internet or pulled it from a library or something, right? But yeah, he gave Tesla accurate technical information that was beyond what he currently had studied. So I find that interesting, always have.
That makes a lot of sense from what I got this book, and I can't even remember where I got it from. I think it was from my aunt when I was a kid, and it talks about somebody who knew Tesla and how they were part of this group. Now, I don't know how true this is. It could be a fiction. I don't know. I have to look at the book again. But this group they were in included, like, I didn't know about Casey, which actually kind of fits.
That was in his very later years. That's probably why you didn't hear much about it. That's when he was up in the hotel in New York or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was in like his final, I think, 10 years or so. He started consulting Casey. It could have been even less than his final 10 years.
Well, apparently Tesla, Einstein, Steinmetz, my brain just farted. The one that created the light bulb.
Edison.
Yeah, and the one that wrote the books, he was good friends with there.
Yeah, what's that freaking guy's name? Twain, Mark Twain.
Yes, Mark Twain. Apparently they had a group, and because of what you just said about Casey, this is what clicked that memory. Apparently they had a group that would get into seances and all kinds of esoteric rituals.
Wow, almost like a parallel to the Maria Orsovich
yeah,
German
channeling and stuff.
Channeling was a big thing back then. Now, I don't believe Tesla was getting his information from there, but he was getting confirmations from there, from my understanding.
Right, yeah, Tesla said where he got his information from. He said straight up that none of his ideas are his own, and they come from a point of higher consciousness elsewhere in the universe.
Exactly. So it's just an interesting thing that goes along with what I learned. That's all my point was. It makes one wonder what that group could have accomplished or did accomplish behind the scenes, considering they were all good friends.
Oh yeah, well, every year for Tesla's birthday party, he would throw these parties, and he would give these demonstrations sometimes, but he would have most fantastic lectures that were just for this like private group of 25 or 30 of his best friends. And some of these were really big names. The people that you just mentioned would have been there, along with quite a few others, and potentially investors. But yeah, he'd tell these really, really fantastic stories. It's one of the places I think that's one of his parties where he told the story about how he'd seen through time, and he looked and kind of turned his head and seen three different times playing out. And one of them was apparently far enough into the future where he's seeing the guy with a cell phone in his pocket, or what he described as a handheld video communication device that allowed anybody to talk to anyone else anywhere in the world. And it slipped in the guy's front shirt pocket. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, there was a device he was working on where basically whatever you thought, it would project it on the screen.
I heard about that, but never seen a single shred of evidence towards it, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, same. Yeah. That's one thing I've heard he did.
I heard about that device as well, yeah. Yeah, he accessed it through brainwaves. I don't know how he was able to see him back then, but that was an interesting invention. Didn't it have, I don't know if he had anything to do with Project Looking Glass or not, but it kind of sounds along his lines.
As far as I know, that really didn't have anything to do with him.
No, eh?
I know he had a part in the Philadelphia experiment, but he got out of it really early because he knew it was super dangerous for humans to be in that field. And,
I read some notes on that, on why he got out, actually.
Yeah.
He got out because he redid his calculations and he realized that every single person that was on that ship near those gravity transformers had to be wearing a watch that locked them to the time that they were from. Because if they didn't, what happened, from what we hear, could have happened. Because the watch that was ticking was oscillating at the time that they were born in, so to speak, right? It's at 60 seconds per oscillation, so to speak, and that was how they were getting their I don't know how they what watch he was using. But anyway, the watches that he wanted to give to every person on the ship, the United States Army apparently said, no, we've already spent enough money on this. We're not going to do that. We don't need it. The math is correct. And he bailed. He said, I don't want nothing to do with this because you guys aren't listening. I've told you, you need to do this. And that's why he bailed. Apparently. I don't know how true it is.
That sounds pretty legit. That's freaking wild.
I found the quote here. Nikola Tesla, my brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. I have not penetrated into the secrets of this core, but I know that it exists. End quote.
Awesome.
Information highway.
It's just like beautiful poetry.
And, you know, I've had so many downloads, and so have most of the people that I work with, that it really makes me think, you know, this is just something that all of us humans can do. You know, it's not, you're not born with special gifts.
Gerald, Jeremiah, myself, all of us have had many own personal experience downloads. Like, it's how we get all our, like, you know,
the best ideas, absolutely.
Ideas.
I come up with all kinds of crappy ideas on my own, but the really good ones pop into my head from somewhere else.
I built my coils through dreams. Every one of them. They were all directed through dreams. Certain numbers, certain sequences. Call it what you all. Mandelbrot sets. And I've seen so many things in dreams I can't even explain. I've written them down. I got maybe 20 binders full of notes. But crazy when you access.
Yeah, lucid dreaming is the key to getting a lot of this info.
That's amazing. We got to get Dan Winter on to talk about that here this year in 2024.
Yeah, he's the guy to talk to about that.
I like Dan Winter. He only goes so far, though. He always says that life is, it all has to do with geometrical basis, and that's it. But there's way more to it than that. Who created the geometrical form that created us?
He goes into the plasma and the ball lightning and the lucid dreaming and forming the flame within the mind. And
oh, don't get me wrong, I'm not discounting any of his info. I think he's great. He's smart. I've watched him since he built his first implosion device for water structuring.
Yep. Yeah, he's in Australia.
Shout out to the water imploder.
Yeah, apparently he was doing some work with the guy who made the Joe cell.
Really? That fascinates me. The Joe cell really fascinates me, especially with like the electrolysis experiments I've done and some of like the weird viscosities I've gotten water to turn to. Like, I fully believe in what I've seen in investigating the Joe cell. I think it's legit.
Yeah, one thing he was saying with the Joe cell, if he were to drive his car over a railroad track, the Joe cell just shuts off.
Because wow, that would make sense. The resonance, because the vibration would just instantly,
It's because the tracks are this huge ground connection that carries to their occurrence.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. The track, yes, the grounding.
I would love to build a Joe cell just to test that.
Who was talking about that earlier today? Someone was talking about that earlier today.
I was talking about current.
No, it was a different system than the Joe cell. Someone else today, a video I was watching, was talking about when they drove over rail tracks because it connects to this huge ground and it would just ground it out instantly. Oh man, I think it was with Jeremy Reese actually.
And you guys should have seen what happened at the tracks over by my old shop. It was just the most incredible thing I've seen as the aftermath. So, you guys want to hear about this? It's just wild. So, another person that was staying there, standing outside, or right by the door to let the dogs out. There was 2 dogs there staying at the time, and they run outside all the time, even when it's storming and whatnot. But they would not go outside at all. They just whimpered at the doorway, and then they ran back inside and started barking at the open door. So anyway, she's like, "Oh, that's weird. I wonder what's going on." And right as she starts to turn to go inside, massive explosive sound. just shook the entire building, shook her. She felt it in her chest. So I find out about this the next morning when I get there to the shop. And so I go down by the railroad tracks where she said she's pretty sure lightning struck. And there's a tree that's been completely stripped of its bark and most of its branches. I can see the stump 30 feet from where the rest of the tree is sitting. And this is like a probably 35-foot tall tree. It's a monster tree. It completely blew the thing, and at the base, it exploded the base with so much pressure it tossed the tree. It must have put it at least 25 feet in the air and threw it, like I said, over 30 feet away. But anyways, this is the really interesting part. The track is in sort of a valley. So this railroad track where this lightning bolt struck, and right where it blew the tree off, it sits about 10 feet down beneath ground level on one side and about 4 feet down on the other, because there's a hill on the opposite side that kind of goes up and it's dug out. What happened is apparently this valley, this region beneath ground level, had been filled up with a massive amount of electrons, just trying to escape and neutralize out the charge that was building up. Because before this lightning bolt struck, it must have pulled out a huge amount of charge straight off the tracks and started to ionize the air. So the entire valley was filled with ions. And what happened is when the lightning strike occurred, it discharged all the ions in the air, and then something really fascinating that I've never seen anywhere else occurred. Every single track-facing plant about 3 feet from the plants that were the closest to the track, about 3 feet into the brush, was completely stripped off of all of its spark, or its leaves were completely exploded. I seen the stems were just blown to pieces. It had fried all the brush, and apparently it's because it electrostatically exploded outwards, just like we see in exploding wire experiments. And the extensive damage to almost 300 feet in both directions of where this lightning bolt struck, just along the railroad tracks, the tracks carried so much instant neutralization charge that they electrostatically ripped the plants apart and tore pieces straight towards the tracks. We're talking thousands of pounds of force here in a split second, probably millions upon millions of volts in a couple of nanoseconds. So
I imagine that area smelled like ozone big time.
Oh man, absolutely. I mean, I seen where the strike went down and it burned the crap out of everything. But the amazing part is it was raining all night after this lightning strike happened, and that tree the next day, it was bone dry. You got to gun off to that thing with a match and started it on fire. I mean, it was completely dry. So that means, while it was raining, that tree must have been so damn hot still that it evaporated off all of this water and ended up dry the next day. So I've never seen that much extensive damage to foliage from any lightning strike. For 300 feet in both directions, just everything completely dead and stripped.
There's a video on the internet. It's been out there for a while. It shows a lightning bolt hitting the ground close to like a river, and then the bolt of lightning just travels right through the river. I don't know, maybe Bernie, you could find it. It shows lightning bolts hitting a river.
If you post it in the private chat, I can definitely load it and play it.
You guys realize that some lightning bolts are over 15 feet wide?
Yeah, they're huge.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, as you were talking about railroad tracks and lightning bolts, has it not been known multiple times that ball lightning actually follows railroad tracks, which is form of lightning?
Well, they are a massive attractor.
Big time. Actually, I think there's a couple videos on the internet of that. I don't know if they're still up.
I don't doubt that. Yeah, tracks are seldom in an ideal position to get struck, so it doesn't happen very often, but certainly they can carry enough charge to draw down lightning, so it will be the plants surrounding the tracks that usually get struck. They're seldom the highest thing around.
Lame. I've been trying to test out. I'm live on 3 different Twitter/X accounts, channels of mine right now as well. But I was testing because supposedly they finally fixed the live comments to Twitter or X integrated into StreamYard, but it does not seem to be the case. Boo.
Okay.
Shout out Tartarian Truth.
Okay, I found the video. I'm going to put it in the chat.
Oh, right. Yeah, the private chat.
Private chat. Okay, hold on a sec.
And once we covered that, then Jeremiah, do you want to discuss a little bit more of the hover coil today? Nope. Here we go. Latin hits the river tree.
Oh crap! I was muted. Actually, Gabriel was telling me earlier yesterday that I had a dream about a flying platform that I had built, and I knew how it worked in my dream because I was assembling it, and so I drew up a little diagram of how to construct it, and I never did get around to actually building it. But he was absolutely convinced that of all the things that I could possibly be working on, that was the #1 most important thing. He's sure that because I've seen it in a dream and like many other things. Holy cow!
That's a lightning bolt.
I remember.
That's a lightning bolt, really?
Yeah.
It's lightning.
No way.
I remember that. Yeah.
It was in China. I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah, the sound goes with it, or it did at one point, and it was loud.
Like a shockwave. It was a shockwave.
And how big of a strike did that have to be?
Play it again. See, it's
wow.
Oh. That's
I would have loved to have been standing there.
Just the way it races across the surface of the ground like that, too. I've never seen lightning do something quite like that.
So charged and electric. Yeah, across the ground here, right? Like,
yeah, right at the beginning.
But what's really amazing is that the fact that the water doesn't all go at once. Like, in these multiple locations, it's super strange. But what I'm not getting here is this. Coming out of the water, there is this brown smoke, so it looks more like, it looks almost like an explosive was set off, and that may not be lightning strike.
Sure, that's not transmutation.
Yeah, this is crazy.
I'll be sure
that's high voltage.
Oh, that's high voltage, man.
Yeah, I know. Is this lightning or something else?
See, to me, that looks like an explosion. That's not lightning. Come on, you know what? That's got to be an underwater explosion, and that thing that looks like a lightning strike up there, that's probably that's probably zip line, explosive trigger line like they use in
maybe.
Explosion.
Maybe.
Yes,
Maybe.
That was an
well, look at the brown vapor from the water after.
100%. That's detonated.
Yeah.
Well, I've never seen lightning strike water before, so I don't know if there's any sort of transmutation going on. But
maybe somebody
dirt from the ground, right?
Maybe somebody just wanted to go fishing and decided to use a bomb.
Right? Yeah.
That's one way of netting them in.
Yeah. Chinese new method of fishing. Throw a bomb in the water.
There could have been some kind of obstruction too, or maybe the bedrock wasn't even, and they wanted to, try to widen it out, just push everything upstream. So it could have been to reshape the riverbed too.
I know. I thought it looked pretty cool.
Sure the hell did.
Oh, hell yeah. We love blowing stuff up for the right reasons. And science.
Hell yeah.
Usually, I don't really have to worry about wanting to blow anything up really much ever because it tends to happen all the time on the lab bench by accident. So normally when something blows up, it's not a good thing. But
yeah.
It thoroughly satisfies all my need for seeing things go pop.
I used to take those little tiny DC capacitors and set them up with my big coil and blow them up like shotgun shells. Man, when they explode, they're loud.
Yeah, I've done a few of those unintentionally.
I don't have any more because I did so many of them.
That was my introduction to electronics. Blowing up a capacitor in my face.
Nice.
Oh, that's a good way to learn about electrolytics.
Yep.
But probably not the best.
It was lesson number 1.
Oh man, we used to see how far we could launch those things, or what kind of energy we could get by discharging a capacitor of approximately, what was it? I think it was like 100 50,000 times the equivalent energy into one of these little cans, and just watch the damn thing go completely catastrophic. I mean, it would blow pieces of the can or fragments into wood, and it would bend it pretty deeply. So
when they blow, there's nothing left, but it looks like little pieces of fur and plastic.
yeah, we used to pick the ones that didn't have the vent release caps because those will really go bang.
Yep.
Nice shirt.
That is a really ugly sweater. I love it.
Happy human holiday.
Indeed,
you win the ugly sweater contest this year, Bernie. You definitely win the ugly sweater contest this year.
Mike, I don't know. Do you know those characters on there, Gerald?
I sort of do. I don't know their names. I love the sweater. Don't get me wrong. I think it's hilarious.
That's why he's showing it off, is because of those characters there.
No, I know. I love the ugly sweater factor, though.
Exactly. And then it lights up.
That used to be a contest in my house. That's why I love that. That's great.
You guys actually did that? I only heard about that.
When I was younger, in my early 20s there, me and my friends used to have ugly sweater contests at Christmas time.
Oh,
just
to
to
do it,
break up the boredom.
Your brother wins every year.
Some people have a knack for ugly.
Some people don't have to.
He nailed it.
Yeah. Some people are pure natural at it.
Yeah. You met my brother. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That's okay. I still don't know how to dress nice. Wasn't ever a skill that I picked up. If I've got to look good, I'll ask my girlfriend for help.
Yeah. I've never been too bad in that department. Just can't really afford the clothes I want to wear.
Well, let's see. Damn, I hope this print comes out.
Yeah, but it gets to 50, you just kind of give up.
Yeah, but that's when you shouldn't give up. That's when you should push harder. Leave a nice looking corpse. That's what I say. I'm going to leave the best damn looking corpse I can. Go out with a bang, right?
That's it.
I was running a small replication of the 2-coil system. It was the first 3D print that I did was these little bobbins. Once again, thanks to Simon for doing all the G-code work on that. And it's just 2 electromagnetic coils, kind of like speaker voice coils, that has a steel bar in the center of them. And so I'm pumping them at 100 hertz, and one of them is offset by about 0.63 hertz. So it's 100 hertz and 100.63 hertz in the 2 channels. That creates a traveling wave, and that thing makes a compass spin like crazy. But it also produces a propulsive force because of the traveling wave phenomena. And the fact that it does it with a square wave input at only 100 hertz, I think, is super interesting. And the reason for 0.63 hertz offset is because that's the oscillation frequency of the pendulum I have it on. So it just kind of helps automate the swinging process, so I don't have to turn it on and off. But yeah, you can really feel it with the magnet. That beat frequency at 0.65 hertz beat frequency is really fascinating. And I was thinking about your coils, G, and how you could run them with a slight differential in frequency to generate a traveling wave too.
Yeah, I can do a little more than that, but I understand exactly. Yeah, I see how you see that. Just for the very fact that it's bifilar and balanced.
Yeah, in this case, these are monofilar coils, but I work far better with a pair of bifilar coils.
But you're working with a pair of monofilar, right? Which is pretty much the same thing as one bifilar coil. So
yeah, I went monofilar because I wanted to reduce the capacitance as much as possible.
But see, if you use the capacity, then
in this case, I'm going for maximum transition switching speed without the back EMF. This is all
I know where you're going with that.
Yeah, with the low voltage, I can't have the high capacitance because the amplifier just won't run it, and because it's being driven with a direct input waveform, not just simply being turned on and off of the transistor. but because it's being driven with a Class A amplifier, it also needs to be fast.
You're absolutely right. In fact, I've gotten to a point where I don't really need a transistor. I use it for a signal and a signal only.
You're saying you can just pump the function generator straight in?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's in one of your videos. Don't you show that lighting a light? It like just barely illuminates.
Yeah, actually, I do. I also show the coil floating above a magnet in the same instance. I've got the function generator set to 24 million hertz, but the transistor doesn't even turn on at that rate. Like it doesn't. It's not even access. So all I'm using essentially is the function generator to do its work. It's because it's creating superconductivity. That's what I believe. Amongst other things, it's not one thing; it's a bunch of little things that make it do
be right
multiple.
back in 5 or 10 minutes.
It's dynamic.
Make a coffee. Just the world's bananas and it's full of trolls, and I will be right.
5 or 10 minutes. All right.
Yeah, I believe my system's dynamic. It wouldn't work with any one little part missing, but all the little parts make it work.
Yeah, that's it. You know, the other day I was asked this question on, Thomas Fessler's channel, Disclosure Tonight show, and I was asked, you know, what's the secret sauce? And somebody suggested, is there really a secret sauce, or is it just all these little things working together? And I'm like, you nailed it. The secret sauce is that you need to match lots of factors and tune the system so that everything works in unison. That is the secret. You know, there is no specific thing like if you have this one extra ingredient, then it'll work. It's like, nope, you already have all the right ingredients, but you've got to mix them at the right ratios, or you ain't gonna bake a cake.
Absolutely, it takes teamwork to make a system like that work.
Absolutely,
all
there you go.
Pieces as a team. Yep.
So yeah, if you were wondering the secret sauce, unfortunately, there's no easy answer to it, no microwave solution. And no 3-step recipe, but certainly if you mix the nice ingredients or the ingredients in the right ratios.
Yep. Yeah, it's like you can't just make a coil and expect it to work. You can't just make a bifilar coil and expect it to work.
Nope, and you can have a perfect coil, and it doesn't matter if you don't drive it with the right kind of signal.
True, but in that perfect coil, there's 7 different instabilities that make that coil perfect. So without those, it ain't gonna work. It's all a system.
Right, and then the driving signal is the thing that sets up the conditions to allow the coil to operate on those instabilities.
Yep.
And a lot of those systems too, when you get it just right, technically it should become a current-free potential. So your power source should draw very, very hardly any current.
Yeah, I'm at 0 watts every time I use my system now.
Oh yeah, like my motor's in the picowatts now. It's not even registering on my meter.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's not registering on my meter either. Jeremiah had mentioned that actually that the meter only goes probably about 100 milliwatts, maybe, or something like that. I can't remember.
It has a minimum cutoff threshold. It can't read down to 0, and its resolution is 100 milliwatts. Right? Yeah, well, its resolution is 100 milliwatts, so we checked it, and it starts to read like around 0.6 or 0.7 watts, and then kind of ignores the numbers below that. It just thinks they're noise, so it filters them out. But once you're above the threshold, then that last digit, it does accurately indicate what the watts are, but it just simply thinks that if there's just a tiny little bit there, it's probably noise, so it rejects it. That's part of the microcontroller processing, microcontroller code that they set up on those damn things, and that's, the Chinese compensation method of saying we have a shitty voltage regulator, so we're just going to ignore the noise.
Makes sense.
Yep, unfortunate.
Like, and if you wanted accurate, sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, like the batteries on my system, I've been using for several weeks now, and it won't go below 25 volts. It does not go below. It just will not take the power out. So obviously, it just will not drain the battery. The battery just Like I'll leave it for a day, hook it back up, it'll gain 100 millivolts.
Okay, so I got a question for you, Mike. Can you pull a load off that, or does the load itself the system running?
The load itself is the system running, and it runs off the pressure of the voltage potential. So what I've got is basically a current-free potential. Because I'm triggering it so fast in the way that I'm doing it, it does not draw a current. It's running off the voltage pressure or the radiation from that voltage that drives the ions. Because it's switching so fast, the ions cannot travel from plate to plate within the battery. It doesn't pull anything. The battery doesn't even notice it's there.
I see what you're doing. That is a nice way.
Yeah.
Man, I like that way of cheating.
Yeah,
it's cheating the chemistry. You're not allowing charges to actually, the ions in the battery to neutralize.
Exactly. It's a current-free potential. So I got 2 batteries. If, say, I hooked up 4 batteries in series, that motor would run indefinitely because it's not pulling anything from the battery. It's running off the voltage pressure. If you got enough voltage pressure there,
you can calculate out how long you could run it off the battery, because you're not going to be able to actually measure correctly the current draw into your circuit at all with any kind of a meter. But what you can do is charge up a fairly large capacitor to that 24 or something volts, and then you can. I would actually charge it up to the full battery voltage for both your cells, so 14.2 times 2, and then you're gonna have that off a power supply running the circuit already, so that when you disconnect the power supply, the capacitor is already fully charged and connected, and then you're just going to time it while watching the capacitor with the meter down to the point where it gets to what you would call a dead battery voltage. Let's say that would be 11 volts. Right, so you're going to be looking at 22 volts across your capacitor. So just measure how long it takes to go from that capacitor's fully charged 2 cell voltage down to that 22 volts, and then you can calculate out how many joules per that capacitance were lost into the circuit, how long it took to dissipate that energy. You can figure out exactly how long your batteries will run it then.
So what I've done, I've hooked up the 1-wire system to my circuit, and I put it through a giant toroid transformer. That's the actual inductor I'm tapping off that 1 wire. And then I put it through a full-wave bridge rectifier. Then I dump it into a 60-volt, 12,000 microfarad capacitor. And then from there, again, I put it through another bridge rectifier. Okay, so I've broken the symmetry now, and I can loop the entire motor now. I can loop it back into itself. The battery doesn't notice it's charging itself because I broke the symmetry along that route. So,
interesting. I'll have to check out some of your videos and take a look at that circuit.
The latest videos. Yeah, I even got the schematic diagram in my Patreon. So anybody who's listening to the show, if you want to become a Patreon, you can check all those schematics out. And I got that from Joel Ladens.
Yeah,
so the 1-wire system is really cool. I like it. And it works.
So I wonder, Mike, on that premise of the way you run your system, if you were to add multiple batteries to it, could you not pull current out of those batteries and then have them charge continuously just because the way the system works?
Yeah, because it's not pulling any current from the battery. It's current-free potential.
No. I don't mean by running the system itself. I mean an actual load on the side.
Oh yeah, like I could charge batteries right off it. I'm charging a 12-volt 90 farad super cap, and it charges it just great.
Nice, very nice. Like your system, love it.
Yeah, it's still very small scale, but I'm trying to get the electronic theory of how this thing actually works. And I found a couple avenues where I basically found out that what I'm doing is it's a current-free potential.
Well, I'm working on something that might help us all, and if it does work, then I'll be shipping one out to each of you for testing, maybe multiple. But I had to put a pause on it. You guys want to see something gross?
Something gross?
Not gross, but okay. So it's weird. Okay, every time I have a major breakthrough, something happens. It's some little stupid piece of bad luck. My last major breakthrough, my daughter got hit by a car. which I now have on video, by the way.
Wow.
The thing that happened to me a few days ago, I got to show this. So, oh, I don't know if it's going to show. I got to switch my camera, I think. Hang on.
I hope this has nothing to do with like mushrooms or something.
Oh, that's nice. Way to go.
It looks better today.
Oh, you smash your finger?
Yeah, I was changing the tire on my wife's car, and it's a hatchback, and out of the blue, and this hatchback normally stays up. You can shake the car, it doesn't fall down. You guys know how hatchbacks work.
Yeah.
Well, I'm changing the tire, and the thing got slammed down on my hand. Nobody was around. It just came straight down, and my hand was stuck in the gate, and my right hand, I couldn't reach the latch, so I had to rip my hand out from underneath the gate, and you could see the break in the nail from it happening. So it's weird. Every time I have a breakthrough, something freaking weird happens to me, and that happened. So now that it's healed to the point where I continue working on what I'm working on, I'm hoping to have it done by Friday. But
so you've learned a lesson. So every time you get a breakthrough, you got to go into your bedroom and lock the door.
Yeah. For a week at a time. Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. Yeah. No, I don't do that. I'll take the hit. I don't care. Mankind needs the help. I'll take the hit.
Now you can't hide away from it anyways. They will just wait for you right outside your door until you're vulnerable and get you anyway.
Yeah.
And you know what I say? Bring them on.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty obvious that there are some forces at work here that will do absolutely anything and everything to make sure this shit never gets out.
Perhaps. Or it could be just bad luck. But, you know, I bring it up just because.
Last time I checked, bad luck doesn't cause your internet cord to get cut up on the pole.
Yeah. Yeah, there is that. There is that.
Yeah, there is that.
But, yeah, you know what? I kind of wonder if this Friday, are you showing anything off this Friday? Do some live experiments, Jeremiah?
Oh man.
Hey, are you doing anything live Friday or this weekend for experiments?
I highly doubt that I will actually have anything set up and ready by that time. I was trying for it. The experiment that I have set up now is producing a propulsive force, but not one that I would stand behind and say absolutely this is, you know, a reactionist force. There are still too many variables to work through before I can say that. So most of my experiments right now need a lot of testing before I want to go public with them, just because again there's so much crap information out there. It's like the last thing I want to do is add more crap information.
I hear that.
False conclusions.
Yeah, I don't want to do that either.
One thing I don't do in my videos, really, hardly ever, is give conclusions to the viewers. I give suggestions for what I think might be happening, and then I leave that as an open-ended sort of, I don't know what it is, you know, think about it, this is what I think it is.
Yep. I try and do that. I've in my videos lately, I've put some suggestions in there, but I'm not claiming it's superconductivity that what I'm doing, because there's so many different forces that are interplaying. I can't claim it to be superconductivity. In fact, until it gets into the hands of others, really, it's just a coil doing anomalous things, or according to others, it could be just weird videos.
Yeah, so, well, again, you know, whenever there's room in your title, you always end it with you decide.
Yeah, well, it's ultimately up to others, right? Regardless of what I see, you can't live in a tunnel.
Yeah, and it wouldn't matter if you told everybody exactly what it was and you knew exactly what it was, because people would still have their own opinions too. It's like every single person that studies this kind of, you know, historical technology or ancient technology concepts has their own theory about how the pyramids were built. It's like something that everybody wants to talk about and brag about how great their theory is because it makes so much sense to them. And it's like, yeah, everybody and their grandmother can tell you how the pyramids are built in their opinion, but what's it really matter if nobody can tell you how to use them?
Yep, very true. It's just a good debate. That's all it really is.
Yeah, it's one more opportunity for somebody to stroke their knowledge of history and, explore various theories. It can be a good discussion, though. Good open debate allows the opportunity for people to test their ideas against other concepts amongst the community, and that can help them error correct and fact check and stuff. So, a lot of people, they just do these debates purely for the sake of wanting to improve their idea. They aren't all Jack Sarfati. They don't come in there telling you exactly how it is, for the most part.
Yeah, I hear you. Absolutely.
Well, that's not a rip on Jack Sarfati either. Just
I like Jack. I like his theory. He's from my understanding, he's almost dead on, except there's a couple things missing. But of course, because of who he works for and with, I imagine there's a lot he can't say. So,
who's this?
Jack Sarfati.
Oh, Jack Sarfati.
He's no crackpot, man. That guy, when he did his interview with Tim Ventura, and then he did the APEC, the one right before that, and then the interview with Tim after that, he was dead on about what he was saying. I fully believe that they have it.
Well, at least
from my experiments,
theoretically.
What's that?
At least theoretically, because they've never built any working models or test proofs of it.
I don't know about that. I only say that because he said he was read in. Okay, now if you're read in, that means they actually have a system that they've either tested or been running. And from what I'm seeing in experiments, I fully believe what he's saying is true. They have it. I don't know, but it's just a theory.
Yeah, I mean, by they, I don't think that Jack's ever put his hands on any of this stuff or actually seen any of it operate. That's all I'm saying.
Oh no, I don't think he's actually been in front of one. I just think that he may have read somewhere through his contacts that they were for real. In fact, I believe he stated that.
I think a lot of it was put on him to try and create his own system of mathematics, and then he would pump that through the right people and sort of have them error check it to see if it made sense for what they were actually doing and what they knew worked. So as far as I understand it, I think he had the opportunity to talk with people that were on insides of these programs and sort of told them, yeah, this math makes sense to us, or no, this is absolutely wrong, you got to fix it.
Yeah.
Know what material I'd love to get my hands on is that aerogel stuff.
Oh, wouldn't we all?
Oh god!
Can't you make that stuff, Jeremiah, or is it like?
I can make graphene, no problem, but making aerogel is quite a bit more complicated.
It is, eh?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I've never made anything like that.
What are the electrical properties of aerogel?
Incredible. Depends on its type and its construction, though. Really, there are many different types and formats of aerogels, and some of them are basically inflated carbon mesh. And those are the ones you'll see this kind of looks like a circular kind of block of coal.
Yeah.
But it'll be balancing on top of like a flower petal, and it's like almost as large as the flower itself. So it's just the stuff is so insanely light. The electrical properties of that material are some of the most incredible that exist right now.
What, superconductivity or?
It exhibits superconducting like properties. It has a massive electric field potential.
Now, if you were to somehow mold that aerogel over, say, a wire conductor or a coil, I wonder what would happen. I wonder how the properties of the coil would change with that stuff on it.
I suppose for really high frequencies, maybe you'd get something, but I think aerogel's best properties are actually going to be found in its modification to refractive index for super high frequencies, and in certain specific types like that inflated carbon aerogel. That's it's different than the clear stuff. This stuff is like a solid kind of black, and it's completely opaque. But that stuff, aerogels like that, could revolutionize a whole lot of different technologies. For example, they're actually being used right now in the fastest transistors which currently exist. They operate into the I think they're like, what are they up to? Like 45 gigahertz now. with apparently prototype units having been developed and built, just a couple of one-offs, and they've been tested up to terahertz. I shit you not, terahertz.
Terahertz speed, wow.
So I got a theory on I don't know if this would work like an aerogel, but my brother used to do electrostatic painting for the city, and it's a way of coating it through electricity. Like you're painting with charged particles, so to speak, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Electroplating.
Yeah, they're powderized particles, like an atomized liquid, and you're spraying it onto a machine. The machine's grounded itself, and there's mass amounts of potential involved. So my thought process, what's that?
Electroplating.
Yeah, electroplating. Well, kind of.
Not,
It's
not
different.
really electroplating. This is a little bit different. So you have two
I
types
can't
of these
remember the
paint
name of
guns. One's called the powder coating.
Powder coating, yeah.
And the other one is a charged aerosol painting.
Electrostatic painting, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, my thought process is this: because it's electrostatic, could you not layer it in such a way where you're changing your polarity of layer and create some form of a battery?
Unfortunately, with that type of tech, it goes on way too thick and way too uneven.
Interesting point.
So yeah, it's part of the issue.
So you couldn't build up some form of an aerogel by layering like that?
Not with that specific technique, though. I've had quite a few theories on how to grow aerogels electrically under the right conditions. The problem is that all these theories involve a very high temperature hydrogen furnace. So that's
right.
I just don't have access to the equipment, but there's a crap load of papers right now that tell you how to make aerogels and graphene and nanotubes, and my favorite is like how to grow a nanotube forest, which is very much a high voltage electrostatic process. It just you vaporize extremely high temperatures off of an arc electrode, little pieces of carbon, and then you allow them to naturally align to the electric field, and they'll self-assemble into nanotubes.
It's interesting. Either way, that's it's good to know.
No, I wish we got good at this stuff, though. I wish we got good at building this stuff, because our species would tremendously benefit if we did. One of your coils made out of the right type of metallized, doped carbon conductor would do things you can only begin to imagine.
Well, it's funny you say that. I'm working on something. Hopefully it'll be done on Friday. I can show. Hopefully. I'm waiting for, it depends on the dry time.
Dry time? Oh.
Yeah, I've built a weird type of battery. Say.
So you're using that spray on carbon. I used it for my carbon magnesium batteries. It's a spray on carbon graphite paint.
Not quite. Let's just say I'll reveal how I built it, but there's a coil in it.
No, that's an interesting battery.
Yeah, it's not a normal battery. I don't even know if you can classify it as a battery, but essentially it acts like a battery.
Is it a flux capacitor?
You could call it that. It's solid. It's solid state like a battery. Like you could put it in a machine and use it like that. The circuit that I'm using on it, I don't know if I personally can't miniaturize it to make it fit inside the battery properly, but what I've got so far looks pretty okay for a prototype, and we'll see how long it works. Or what's that?
I think I know what you did.
So yeah, it's interesting, and if it works, it might be the next step that all of us need to get into their hands. So you all get this battery, and you can test how long, the charge time, the load time, current, everything. But I don't know. Again, we'll see. I'm waiting on the dry time right now.
Yeah, I mean, trying to get a project ready on a schedule is always a pain, especially when it's something that's, a brand new type of tech and you're waiting for parts to come in.
you're not wrong. That's why I say I'm trying. But I've been working on it for the last little while, and I'm almost done. Now it's testing. But again, it could be a dud just like anything else that's been going on out there. I don't know. One step at a time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the only way we make our way forward.
But I hate to cut this off, guys, but my family, so to speak, is all getting up and about, and I have to go help put things together, sort of thing. So
no quick call after. You're going to be busy. All right.
What's that?
Said no quick call afterwards.
Yeah, maybe in about a half hour or so.
Cool. Let me know.
Yeah, I will. I'll email you. Is Bernie even around? I guess not, eh?
I probably stepped out for a smoke.
He's making coffee and a smoke, and he left his banana behind. I don't know how anybody could just leave their banana anywhere. I mean, come on, folks.
That's who's running the show right now. The banana.
Well, the world is bananas.
All right, Gerald. Well, you have a wonderful day, brother. Thanks for joining in.
Yeah, definitely.
With Wednesday, and you'll be back on Free Energy Friday in collaboration with Mike in his League of Extraordinary Inventors stream that we will be doing. And I look forward to this solid state battery / flux capacitor that you speak of.
That's what we should call it, the flux capacitor.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right,
and the trolls will be out to get you.
Bernie's losing his banana.
He lost his banana.
Oh, I've been bananas a long time. All right, we just monkeying around.
I hear that. All right, thanks for the invite, brother. We'll talk to you guys all real soon.
Let me know in half an hour, G.
Definitely, I'll email you.
Everybody have a blessed day, and it's 3 hours and 36 minutes in. I think it's about time to wrap her up. Any last words, Mr. Mike or Jeremiah? Good sirs.
No, I think that's about it. We covered some good stuff.